Coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show, we've got some first-time home buyer questions. Also, what do you do with a low appraisal? And what about if a roofing company doubles the cost before you pay and threatens to put a lien on your home? Plus, you got a tiny space? We've got some answers on how to make it look bigger. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, Sokoler team, Remax Properties East. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. We've got a great show and some great people. And hopefully you'll be able to stick around till the top of the hour to hear some of the questions and answers. Joining us, Randy Rocky, who is one of the head guys over at Swan Financial. They do a great job, as they did for me just a couple of months ago, in terms of helping to get you to the closing table by getting you the best rates for the loan. And the process actually is much simpler than you might believe. Randy does a great job. So those people, you can reach him at 6450736. And when you get to the closing table, the place you want to go is Limestone Title and Escrow. And Lee Harris, who is legal counsel over at Limestone, joins us. They do a phenomenal job of getting you prepared at the closing table and making it go smoothly. Again, Lee's number at Limestone, 649-7964. Also, my son Greg, who does our marketing, photography, and so much more, is with us today. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or maybe in the near future, I would love to help you. Just simply, you can call me, 376-5483. We'll set up a time for me to come out and talk about the process, and we'll look at what the costs are and what's involved in getting the home sold. Maybe it might be a little fix up here or there, maybe nothing. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, so we got a lot of stuff on the table here with a lot of questions. Let's start it off with Randy Rocky. Jacob sent us this email. He says, I'm about to buy my first home. What's the difference between a fixed rate and adjustable rate mortgage? We're getting a lot of first-time buyer questions, which I think is encouraging as the market kind of evolves this year. So, Randy, what is the difference between adjustable and fixed?
Yes, so on a fixed rate mortgage, it can, you can do like a 10, 15, 20, 30-year mortgage. Predominantly, we do 30-year fixed mortgages, and that means that the interest rate stays the same throughout the loan. On an adjustable rate mortgage, you can do, usually it's a 3, 5, or 7-year term where it's at a fixed rate, and then after that it is just off the LIBOR index and can either go up or actually can go up at that point. So that's the difference between an adjustable and a fixed rate mortgage.
Yeah, adjustable means exactly that. It can go up or go down, but they're so small. The difference between a fixed and adjustable is so minimal right now.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
So it really pays to go with a fixed rate, you would suggest?
Actually, adjustable rate mortgages for the most part are even higher because short-term rates are so much higher right now. So now with everything going to come down this year, they're talking about 2 rate drops on short-term rates. Then I think adjustable rate mortgages will become more advantageous again, but they have not been in, I've not sold many of them. I don't believe in most situations. They make sense, but every once in a while they do.
Yeah, and so sellers, by the way, I should tell you, I read this week that a lot of buyers are sitting on the fence just waiting for the rates to start coming down, which the Fed is supposed to do, in September. We'll see what happens on that. A reminder, you can see a rebroadcast of today's show, actually see it, not only hear it, by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. This next question is for Lee Harris over at Limestone Title. Olivia is having some work done on her home. She says the roofing company doubled the price of what she was quoted and is now threatening to put a lien on her property if she does not pay the bill. She's wondering, what can she do? Lee, this is a problem, and hopefully we can figure out what that answer is.
Yeah, that sounds at first blush like a scam. The first thing I'd ask is, did you sign a contract? Did you sign an agreement regarding that estimate and how much it was supposed to cost? And if there was any wiggle room for it to be more? Double sounds like sort of like a bait and switch to me. And so the first thing that I would do is contact the owner, the president, whoever the highest person up at the company is, and tell them what the estimate was and that that's what you expect to pay. If you don't, there's always the Consumer Protection Bureau, which is in the Attorney General's office, and they are there for just this type of thing. They protect consumers against any kind of gouging or usurious rates or anything like that. So that would be my second step. And I would tell the owner that that's your second step, and that usually gets you somewhere.
Yeah, the key point is, did you have a contract that was signed prior to entering into this? And If you don't, folks, this is a takeaway is to make sure there is some sort of formal contract between you and the vendor that you're using. Eh,
Absolutely.
Right. And then the other thing is also check with the Better Business Bureau and see what the
Right.
record
Absolutely.
on the, because that could
Yes.
be
Good
real.
advice.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We move over. Greg, this one is actually for you. Joseph wrote us. He says in this email that he has seen some terrible photos on Zillow and the multiple listing service, and he's wondering what should he do when he takes photos of his house to sell it later this year. Some suggestions, tips?
There's his first mistake. I heard he's going to take the photos. That's probably your first mistake. If you don't have a professional taking your photos, you're already going to be behind the gate, as you speak. As somebody who's been doing it for many years, there's a lot that goes into the look, feel, the layout of the land, the feng shui, if you will, lighting, temperatures. You would start there, but color of walls, the way your furniture is placed, all of those things go into effect when I step into a room, especially when a professional photographer comes in, and then you're looking at the exposure of the outside, the time of day that you go shoot it. Is the sun in front of your house? There's a lot of little things that you could do, but the first thing I would say would be hire a professional photographer. And if your agent's not doing it, have your agent hire a professional photographer or find an agent who has a professional photographer like us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good little promo, but very good. You could also, by the way, if you'd like, see what the sellers are saying about us and buyers as well. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com and read our reviews. All right, we go back over to Randy Rocky at Swan Financial. Elizabeth is looking for a home and having problems finding something she likes. So she is thinking about building. And in this email, Elizabeth is saying she is wondering, do all mortgage companies do construction loans? And what, in fact, is the difference between a construction loan and a regular loan? Randy?
Yes, so we do a one-time closed construction loan where we close the loan with what the plans are, and we get all the estimates from the contractors, and we close the loan, and then they take draws as they continue to finish the project. So with that is what a construction loan is, and then we already have set up what the permanent financing will be. But if interest rates drop, then we put them in what is either at the time we put them in the interest rate that is lowest at the end of the project. The projects usually take about 6 months. Sometimes they can go longer. And then obviously a regular purchase loan is everything, the construction's already finished. We get the appraisal done and we just order and lock with current interest rates in the current market and usually close in 30 to 45 days.
And just to be sure that that everyone's clear, that's not the only way to build a home. You can go interview builders. That would be if the buyer, are carrying all that cost up front. A lot of times these builders will require a large deposit down up front, and they finance it themselves because they've got better lead time on tracking. They might be already working with Randy for the construction loan, and a lot of times you can get a builder that will do that, hold that liability. There's going to be some upfront cost to you, but instead of holding the bag the whole time, as you would say, you would want to interview some builders first, see what their financing terms are, and get with them. Certainly, if you wanted to build something completely custom and GC it on your own and do your own thing, that would be a way that you yourself could hold it. But a lot of times, it's the builders that hold these.
Yes, that's right.
And just to sum it up, the difference is a construction loan could be 6 months or more in terms of the financing portion of it, whereas a conventional loan may be 30, 40, 60 days. You can extend it, but it'll cost more money. Okay, just to answer specifically the question that Elizabeth had asked. We go back over to Lee Harris over at Limestone Title. And Lee, Samantha is looking for her property tax bill. Just realized that the value of her home went up $100,000 this year. Well, she's not alone. This is a problem that a lot of folks are facing. She thinks this is wrong and wants to talk to somebody at the Property Value Administration. And she's wondering, okay, what is the process for asking for a change of her home's value? And am I right in saying she may be too late this year, Lee?
This year, you're too late. There was about a 20-day window that they have open every year where you can at first apply online for an appeal of your assessment. You're not alone, Samantha. pretty much everyone I've talked to went up a lot this year, extravagant amounts, more so than you would think they would jump in 1 year. And so there was a lot of people who appealed. If you didn't win online on that first step, then they give you an actual hearing date where you can go in person and plead your case. That requires a little bit more effort on the part of the owner, such as getting an appraisal or two that you pay for to show why you think those figures legitimately are too high. Or perhaps something a little less expensive, like maybe a broker price opinion, something that would prove to the powers that be that they overestimated the value. It does work. I just had a friend yesterday who emailed me and said she had an appeal and she won. So you might want to consider that next year because I think the window is now closed for 2024.
Well, yeah. And what's sad is Florida's really taking this bull by the horns. You can only go up 1% a year.
Oh,
Now, if you resell the house, then it'll be whatever it is. So let's say your house is worth 500,000, you can only go up 1%, which is whatever.
In your assessed value.
And your assessed value. But if you sell it for 800,000, then the new property owner obviously has to pay the property tax on that. And I just wish Kentucky would put that law in place because that's a great law. Because now you got, somebody's living in St. Matthews or wherever for so long and they're 70 years old and they're under a budget. And now their property tax went up, $1,400, $1,500 a year. That's really tough on the elderly, especially. I mean, it's tough on everybody, but I think it's really sad what has happened in that scenario.
yeah. A reminder, if you're thinking of selling your home, we have a free no obligation book that has hundreds of useful tips. If you want a copy, just send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com, and put selling tips in the subject line, and I will send that out to you as soon as humanly possible. We're going to take a break. When we come back, if you've got a tiny space, small home or small room, we've got some clever hacks to transform your home into a spacious oasis. Continuing with us, Randy Rocchio at Swan Financial. You can reach him to get your loan. It's 645-0736. Also, Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow, 649-7964. My son Gregor does our marketing and photography, continues with us. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in the future, just give me a call, free, no obligation analysis. You can call me. I'll come out. There's no home too big and no home too small. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, with you till the top of the hour. Thank you for sticking with us, folks. And also with us, Lee Harris, who is legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. They do a great job of getting your loan closed. And you can pick the closing attorney that you want to work with. And I highly recommend Limestone Title and Escrow. And make sure you taste their cookies. You can reach Lee at 649-7964. Also, Randy Rocky is here, Swan Financial. They do a great job of getting you pre-approved, qualified, and to the closing table and getting you the best rates available. You can reach Randy and his team at 645-0736. My son Greg, who does our marketing and photography and so much more, is with us today. And you can reach me if you're thinking about selling your home now or in the near future. You can reach me on my cell phone. It's free, no obligation analysis. I come out, we talk as much time as you need, and we'll review every aspect of selling your home. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, and hit submit. Okay, so it's very possible you have a smaller home, small room. What do you do to make it look bigger? Well, the key underlying term, folks, and feel free, Lee, Randy, and Greg, to jump in here. The key is light. Light equals space. So how do you do that? Well, the most obvious thing is clean the windows. That helps. Also use mirrors strategically. Position mirrors opposite the windows to reflect more light around the house. You can rearrange furniture, and especially anything that's obstructing light that's streaming in through the windows. You can streamline your shelves. It may be tempting to pack your built-ins full of books and decorative objects, but be sure to leave a little empty space on the shelves. And stagers, home stagers, who do a great job, will tell you a lot of space makes the home look bigger. Also, cut back on clutter. That also ties in. It will give the home a much bigger feel. There's a old adage, less is more when it comes to selling your home. So you got to cut by a third and then another third. and then cut back foliage that might be outside that's blocking the light from getting through into the house. You can lighten up the floors, though that can be costly, especially if it means replacing wood floors or carpeting. So take that one with a grain of salt. You can scale down your furniture so that you remove some of the furniture will make the room look bigger. Check the light bulbs. Make sure you're using, in this case, the LED light bulbs are much less expensive these days, and it'll give you as much, if not more, light and make the home look bigger. And then use paint to your advantage. If you are thinking of painting, lighter colors will go a long way to making your home look a lot bigger. Those are some of our clever hacks to transform your home into a spacious oasis. All right, we go back to our questions. This one is going over to Lee Harris at Limestone Title. Alexis sent us an email saying that she is one day away from closing on her new home. And all of a sudden, and Randy, you may want to jump in on this as well. All of a sudden, the underwriter sent her a message that says they are denying her loan. Now, she doesn't say why they're denying her loan, though there could be some items we could presume. But she's wondering, Lee, from your end, is there anything she can do about it? And does she get a good faith deposit back if this doesn't go through?
Okay, yes, let's start there. So the good faith deposit is usually refundable to the buyer if the buyer has acted in good faith and has proceeded diligently towards getting their loan, and then for some reason at the last minute or early on, either one, it falls through. That is a contingency that wasn't met. That doesn't mean the buyer did anything wrong, and therefore the seller should not retain their deposit. Sometimes you'll have a little debate with the seller. Obviously, the day before closing, they're probably going to be upset because they feel like they've gone all the way through the process and they're probably moving or have moved.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what happens, generally, what you see is that, and Randy can add on to this as well, maybe somebody had something on their credit that just recently popped up, or they can't source some particular funds. They have a bankruptcy or a foreclosure or something. It seems like that would have come up sooner, but sometimes it just is late in the process. And so the underwriters have all their rules that they have to clear, and if they don't, then they can't give you a clear to close.
Yeah.
And
So with that being said, the difference between a bank and a captive lender and then a broker like myself is a lot of times they have overlays. Like they'll have special things that even though Fannie Mae says, hey, this is acceptable, they won't allow it in their system for many reasons. So I would also suggest that they go to a broker and have them look at it, and they can call me about it because there's a lot of times I can close loans that a lot of companies can't because they just have what's called overlays. That's kind of the term in our industry.
And let me just add one thing, Greg, if you want to jump on this as well. One of the more common reasons that maybe the underwriter pulled the plug on the loan, maybe the buyer went and spent money or took out a credit card line for, say, new furniture or a new car, which wasn't in the original calculations, which created the problem, right?
That happens.
Yeah.
We've seen it. But is that, Lee, acting in good faith?
Well, that's always the debate. Yeah, I've seen people buy a big expensive truck or a house full of furniture or whatever, and then it totally throws off their numbers and what they can afford, and they can't any longer afford this particular payment. And if they did that knowingly or even sort of negligently, I think you're getting into the territory of not acting in good faith, because certainly if you're going to spend a bunch of money and you're tight on your numbers to begin with, you might want to ask your lender, you might want to ask, should I be getting this credit card? Should I be getting this new car payment? Whatever it might be. And so, yeah, that's always a debate with the sellers is, well, did they do something that actually made this fail? And if that's the case, then the seller would have a much better argument to keep the earnest money.
Yeah, the takeaway. You go ahead, Randy.
60% of all loan officers have dropped out of the business in the last 2 years. So the ones that are surviving sometimes, and I hate to say this is a bad mark in our industry, but sometimes they're throwing mud against the wall and hoping it sticks too. So that is another problem, a big problem right now, because people are, it's a tougher market than what it has been. So people are trying to get things closed sometimes that they've not done their due diligence on as well.
I would say the takeaway, folks, is to make sure before you do anything, if you're buying a house, communicate a lot with your loan officer and your
and go local. This is a spot for Randy and every local rep we have. We've had some of the the big brand.com homes people that have recommended lenders in the past that are not local. And then we've gotten a hold of them after the buyer locally is deeply involved in looking at homes, only to find out that had we had some more vetting here locally, we would have known this person probably couldn't qualify at this level, shouldn't have been able to. And we didn't have a direct line locally to call back and forth. It was a .com. So beware where you are shopping your rates. Definitely go with a guy like Randy. They give you much more flexibility and somebody to talk to that's real.
It's
very well said.
It happens a lot more than you would believe.
Oh man,
yeah, it really does. All right, this next one is for Randy over at Swan Financial. Sarah selling her home. She had a contract to purchase on it, but the appraisal came in low. Sarah says in the email she sent us, she is not willing to reduce the price of her home to meet the appraisal price, so the contract fell apart. Sarah says the loan was an FHA loan, and her agent is telling her that she may not be able to get more money for her home. And then because of the first appraisal that came in through an FHA loan, she's wondering what all that is about. Explain about the FHA loan.
So for 6 months, that appraisal will be, you have to use that appraisal unless you dispute it, and then you can get it changed. So if you don't get the value change for 6 months, that loan cannot go FHA. It can go conventional and get another appraisal, but that price will stand, that appraisal amount will stand for 6 months. With that home, we just have one right that we are currently doing, and the appraisal came in fine, but we just had this situation come up actually on one of my loans 2 days ago where we had to get an appraisal transferred from FHA because it follows them for 6 months. Yeah.
Does that hold true also with the VA loans or just FHA loans?
Just FHA. VA is not as stringent on that, and conventional is not.
Right. So just remember, if you're selling your home and it's an FHA loan that is on the buyer side and the appraisal comes in low, that appraisal will stick with that house because it's not tied to the buyer. It's tied to the house at that point for 6 months. All right. Back over to Lee Harris over at Limestone Title. Joseph in this email asks, he says, a broken iPhone appeared in our backyard near our pool a month ago, and it was completely broken. We threw the phone away. And he says, over time, the neighbors' kids have been throwing toys and stuff over the fence into our backyard. He says, we have a dog, and we're concerned about her safety. My question is, are we in the wrong for throwing it away? Lee, what would you say?
That's a great question. Neighbor questions come up a lot on our show, and because you want to have good neighborly relations, and that leads to a happy life. But it sounds to me like that is trespassing in the sense of littering. The place I would start, and this is not a legal answer, it's a neighbor answer, is to go to the parents and say, look, just what you said, we have a dog, that we found a cell phone here. What if the dog ate the cell phone? We don't want any issues between us. And so could you please, make sure your kids don't throw anything over. However, if you continue to do so, we will have the right to throw it out, and that's what we'll do. And I think that will probably put a kibosh on it because nobody wants their toys and cell phones to get tossed.
I would go one step further. I would just keep anything that gets tossed over by the kids in a little box, or if you've got room, store it somewhere so that in the event you do have to move this to another level legally, you've got the evidence to show, hey, this is what's been thrown over in this period of time. And rather than telling people about it, you've got actual evidence to show. A reminder that if you are thinking of selling, we've made it easy for you to be able to get your home evaluated. You can go to bobsellslouisville.com or call me at 376-5483, and I'll come out for a free no obligation estimate. That's my direct cell anytime, 376-5483. All right, Randy, Isabella is shopping for a mortgage and has heard the term conforming loan, jumbo loan, and conventional loan, and she's quite frankly not sure what those terms mean. You kind of want to give us a quick rundown of those terms?
So conforming and conventional are the same. It's just a regular Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan. So that's a conventional loan, and a jumbo loan is anything above, I think it's 780 some odd thousand. So that the loan is above that, then you would go into jumbo loan status, which typically means that you're going to have a little bit higher interest rate.
Simple enough. I remember when the jumbo loans that started at 417,000.
Oh yeah,
Wasn't so far.
417.
Yeah,
Yes,
wasn't so
yes.
far ago. All right, we got time for one more quick question here for Lee Harris over at Limestone. Madison bought her home more than 15 years ago, thinking about selling it next year. She says in this email, she is wondering, does she need a copy of the deed to sell her home? And she says she doesn't remember ever receiving the deed, so she's concerned that she may not be able to sell.
Oh, Madison, you got your back here. So if you're in Jefferson County, you could go just to Jefferson County Clerk. .org, and you could put in your last name / your first name, and it will bring up your an actual copy of your deed. You can print it off. You can have a copy. If you're in another county, most counties now have all of their deeds back to way more than 15 years, probably back to 1980 or so. Online, you can get them usually free. And if you don't, or if you have trouble doing that, the title company or the closing attorney will undoubtedly get one for you, and they will research that as part of the title, and so you don't have to worry about that at all. And so you can sell with or without a copy of your deed.
Easy enough. So don't worry about it, Madison. The deed is waiting for you, and you don't have to put too much effort into it. We are out of time. Incidentally, next week, we asked our listeners, what should our fellow listeners, know before they buy a home? Some interesting answers coming out that you may not have realized, and I think it's a great listen to. So that's next week on our show. My thanks this week to Lee Harris, who is legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee anytime if you've got a question, and you can have her group close your loan. You can pick the closing attorney. You can reach Lee at 649-7964. Also, my thanks to Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. They do a great job of getting you pre-approved and to the closing table with the best rates around. You can reach Randy at 645-0736. My thanks to my son, Greg, who does our marketing and photography. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to help you. All you need to do is give me a call. It's free. It's no obligation. I'll come out. We'll talk about the process and go over everything you might want to know about selling your home. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.